Yeah, yeah. We here. Good morning, good afternoon, evening. Don't know what time of day you're consuming this, but as you know, if you're a regular consumer, this is evergreen material that we put out here every single day. Great to have you. Let me get everything shared out and get into today's recap episode. Hold on one second. Let me just get all that. Straight mic check, mic check, mic check. All right, we're good. We're good to go. Let me just do that. And huh. Here we are. What's going on? What's going on? How's everyone doing out there? Great to be back. We have another Thursday recap episode. Let me just introduce myself to anybody that may be new to me, new to this channel. My name, Aswan Crookshank. I'm your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon to be 6-time published author and educator. I created this whole brand, this whole framework, this whole mindset, this whole concept, this whole philosophy. It's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a staff and a group of employees that moves as cohesively, has that same mindset, that same strategic, that same passion that a championship youth or high school football team has. That is what we do over here in the Move Swiftly world, and we've made it to the end of another week. We talked all week. We've been going over what a merit-based role is, how to find a merit-based role, how to survive in a merit-based system, how to survive in a meritocracy, what it's all about. We've been discussing it all week, and today we're going to just basically recap everything that we've discussed from Monday all the way through Wednesday and just give you guys the full gamut and ready. You'll be leaving here with an understanding of merit-based systems and why you need to make sure you have a merit-based system in place if you want to survive in this world, in this business, especially in this world that we're currently living in. All right. It's always been something that's important, but in this world, this artificial intelligence using world, you better have some damn merit. You better have some ability to actually do something and perform, or else you will get canned. You will get axed really, really quick. You got to be moving in a direction in which you're able to support yourself and survive based on the things that you're good at. So we will dive into all of that today. Let me just get through a few of the announcements that regular consumers have heard on multiple occasions. But if you're new around here, it's important that you hear these announcements before we get going so you know exactly who you're listening to, what I'm all about, and the kind of people that we bring into this world, the kind of people that the whole Move Swiftly brand appeals to. So first and foremost, if you are a business owner, as I mentioned in the intro today, we are here to serve you. If you have not yet, go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That's MAKEYMOVE.com. freeguide.makeyourmove.com. We work from a very, very, very simple formula here. It is establishing measurables, number one, plus a professional distance, and that equaling the productive environment that you need. There's no other blueprint. If you don't have the measurables that need to be established on a day-to-day basis, and you don't align that and mix that in with the professional distance, you will not get the productive environment that you need. All right. And results won't be happening. There'll be too many friendships or too many catty little passive aggressive bullshit that's going to get in the way of the results. You need the measurables and you need the distance, the professional distance, in order for the results to happen. All right. So all that being said, make sure you go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. I create a very easy to understand 10-step process in which you can start utilizing these things. It's not going to solve all your problems, but it's at least going to get you in the right direction, at least moving in the right direction so you don't have the turnover issue. Right? That's number one. Next thing, West Palm Beach, Florida. If you are interested in free boxing lessons, free boxing lessons. Your one and only Move Swiftly speaker has opened it back up. I do, whether you want to do boxing lessons with me at the park or you would want to do it at a local gym. Here are the times: from 6 all the way through about 8 p.m. If you're interested in any of those times, doing a free one and checking out to see how it all works, be sure you contact me. You could see it right there on freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. And that is particularly for my locals out here in the West Palm Beach, Florida area. And finally, if you are like, hey, if you're the people we like to work with around here, our favorite kind of people, which are the folks that are like, bump all that free stuff. We want to know what we got to pay for, who we got to pay, and how we going to get this thing rolling. We want to pay somebody because we love your energy. We love the consistency. We love what you're all about. I do employee development workshops is my main offer. It's right there. If you want, we can book a meeting and talk about a payment plan and how everything will work. Or if you want to utilize the books and the intellectual property that I have and all that kind of stuff. All of that stuff is on makeyourmove.com/shop. And you can do all the research that you need to do on me. Here is what you will be getting in a nutshell. All right. Turn your business into a championship team. It is common knowledge that the best way to win in business or in life is by avoiding ways to lose. Whether you've just started a new business or you've been in business for quite some time, there is no getting around the need to hire or outsource certain elements of your organization so things can run as efficiently as possible. When you book your meeting with Aswan, he'll diagnose he'll diagnose what issues are with it's not like I don't read this every day, but he'll diagnose what the issues are with your current system and then strategically create a system in which will lead to a reduced amount of turnover or a clear understanding of the parts of your business that need to be outsourced. So that is what we do in a nutshell over here in the Move Swiftly world. Again, business owners, be sure you are taking advantage of these resources, taking advantage of the things that we're about, because as we get going, again, it's going to be a focus on the folks that are the clients and they're seeing the results, because this business is built on years upon years upon years of results and making sure results are happening every single day. And the result is a professional development and employee development system that's going to be able to last you a lifetime. If you buy in and you utilize the system and you hold not only yourself accountable, but you're holding the people around you, around your organization accountable. That's what the system is built on. It's just like your championship team. All right. You see championship teams over the years, whether they win it all or not, you see them always competing at the highest of levels, because there's a system that they depend on every single year in order to keep themselves at least competing for a championship. That's what you got to have. You got to have a system in place in which you are competing for that championship every single year. And my superpower, what the whole Move Swiftly brand is all about, is understanding that that's how you do that. That is what we're going to implement and inject into your organization. We're going to inject that into your organization in a way in which you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. All right. So again, be sure you contact me if you want more on that. All right. So all that being said, and it's the perfect lead-in. It's the perfect lead-in, in fact. Good coffee right there. First cup of the day. It's the perfect lead-in to this week's recap episode, because merit-based, when we're talking about what it means to get things done on your own merit, there's a sense of pride that comes with that. There's a sense of inner working, and we've been discussing this all week. There's a sense of what's burning on the inside, what's making it so you're ticking on the inside, what is allowing you to put forth the effort, what is allowing you to make the calls when nobody else is telling you to make the calls, what's making it so you're putting in work when no one's asking you to do it. In fact, I remember growing up, I was, again, I'm very like a Division 6 athletically. I played Division 1 college football, but athletically, in terms of my athleticism, I was probably Division 6, and the lowest is Division 3. Just so you guys understand how bad of an athlete I was. The reason I was able to play Division 1 football was because of work ethic and because I worked my ass off. All right. So every single night. Now, again, I was one of those unathletic linebackers that really needed to work his technique and wanted to be that and needed to be that guy that was very technically sound and making the proper reads and, really outworking people in order for me to compete. But in terms of my speed and being able to keep up with receivers and, guard people in space and all that kind of stuff, that wasn't my game. I had to work on my speed. So every single night before I went to sleep, I would run 10 sprints every single night before I go to sleep when I was growing up, especially, in those high school years. So I remember when my nephew started playing when he's first, and he's an absolute dog now. He's a great athlete now. It seems he's gravitating more to basketball, which is, expected, seeing that he's growing up in Maryland. But I remember when he first started just playing football in general, and I FaceTimed with him when he was really, really young. I FaceTimed with him yesterday. It's kind of crazy thinking about just seeing how much he's growing up and all that kind of stuff. But I remember FaceTiming him, and he was like, yeah, man, coach told me to do this. Coach told me to do. I'm like, man, that's the easiest thing you can do is do it when coach watching. What you doing when coach ain't watching? That's the question. What are you doing when coach isn't watching? And that's the question I would pose to you all. What you doing when the boss isn't watching? What are you doing when the folks who are the superiors and the ones who can, hire and fire you and all that stuff? What are you doing when they're not watching? What are you doing when the significant other or the kids or somebody else, the people that love you and depend on you to make great decisions? What are you doing when they're not watching? What are you doing when you're not being told to do a certain thing? Are you putting in your work? See, that's the kinds of stuff that burns when you are talking about merit-based systems, when you want to get paid on your merit. I tell the story all the time. One of my favorite sports books to read was The Last Lion of Baseball. Let me pull it up so we have some context here. The Last Lion of Baseball. All right, it's a story about the great George Steinbrenner. All right, go get a copy. If you are a sports junkie like I am, you need to go get a copy of this book. Look at the oh man, I remember it. See, like as I was breaking into the business of sports, I remember seeing this. I saw the cover of this book. And it was absolutely riveting. There was chills. I was getting chills looking at it because, again, I grew up in the DMV, grew up in Maryland, but I went to school in New York. Where there was absolute psychotic New York Yankee fans. And you see not only New York Yankee fans, but you see that New York, that NY logo. There's something real about that logo. There's something there's a stamp of approval when it comes to the city, the New York, and the whole brand of the New York sports fans who are absolutely insane people. They're insane. New York, you see what happened with the Knicks, right? You see what happened with the Knicks this year. New York sports fans are absolutely some of the most insane people you will ever meet, right? So I read this book a couple years ago, The Last Lion of Baseball. And in the book, he talks about a guy who's actually, if I'm not mistaken, he's from the DMV. Let me look it up real quick. Brian Cashman. All right, so Brian Cashman, no, he's from New York, but he went to school in DC. He went to Catholic University. Irish Catholic, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check here. Yep, yeah, that was it. He went to Catholic University, which is where I could have ended up going. Went to a couple of my teammates. It's right there in DC. My dad actually graduated from CUA, the Catholic University. So Brian Cashman went to Catholic U, and Brian Cashman asked George Steinbrenner for a 1-year contract. He asked him for a 1-year contract when he might be able to look up the story. Yep. Resign. He agreed. 1-year contract became. Yes. So when he asked him for a 1-year contract because he wanted to prove that he was good enough to actually do the job. He was actually that's what he did. And these are the kinds of things. Again, this is the kind of stuff that we learn. This is why it's called a sports marketing firm, because this is how I learned the business, is just through reading books like that. And again, having gone to school in New York, learning the business, learning how the whole thing works. Again, learn the business, the harsh reality of the business of sports. That's where I learned it. And that leads me into, again, are you really working in a system? Are you actually moving in a situation where you're taking less money, you're getting paid less than what you're worth, because you want to maneuver and put yourself in a position where you're actually performing, getting results, and then eventually get to a place where now you can write your own ticket, you can create your own position, you can create your own programming and your own ways of doing things. You're looking at living proof example of how this gets done. All right, this is what you have to be underpaid. You have to be willing, not to say you have to, it has to happen like this, but you have to be willing to be underpaid for years. I mean, years of me being underpaid so I can go out and get the experience of doing this and doing that, so I can land myself in the position that I landed myself in currently. That's how it has to work if you're committed to developing in a merit-based role. Now, it's not for everybody. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you it's not for everybody, just like I'm not for everybody, just like this channel isn't for everybody, just like this business isn't for everybody. There's certain people that don't have the life experiences. They weren't raised in the kind of structure and the kind of concrete environment that I was raised in order for me to, go after certain things, like going and playing football at Stony Brook or Carson, or being at a place like Good Counsel, or having, kind of the unique blend of coaches that I had and where I played, all that stuff. Okay. So again, I'm here to explain to you today, or all week, we've been talking about, hey, these are merit-based roles and this is what it's all about. And if you can figure out a way to maneuver your situation in which you are getting paid because you're actually good or because you're actually performing, that's what you have to do. Regardless of where you are, you can start doing that. You can start implementing certain things in which you're making sure you're proving yourself. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever received from my mother, who has given a lot of great advice over this. So I'm telling you, like, listen, this is one of the best pieces. It's a lot of things, especially if you are a regular consumer to the channel, there's a lot of stories I share with my mother. And she told me at a very young age, look, you have to prove yourself. No matter how many people like you, not if people like you or dislike you, whatever it is, those feelings and all that bullshit that a lot of people come with, none of that shit matters when you decide you're going to be proving yourself. You prove yourself to yourself, though. Prove yourself to yourself day in and day out. Those feelings that other folks have about you, that shit just won't matter. It's crazy that she would tell me that, because one of my favorite thought leaders, her name is Marianne Williamson, the author of Return to Love, the one who should be getting the credit for that quote. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be? Who am I to be bold, beautiful, strong? The question is, who am I not to be? You are a child of God. You're playing small, does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightening about shrinking so other folks won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fears, our presence automatically liberates others. Yes, I have it in verbatim, right? So Marianne Williamson is the one that came up with that quote. And I remember her speaking about forgiveness. Go look it up. It was like a Super Soul Sunday with Oprah. And she was talking about forgiveness and saying, look, if you pray for the people that have done you harm, there's two things that'll happen. Either that person will behave differently or you won't care. Either way, it's a good thing. It's a good result, because the folks who are trying to create chaos in your life, the ones who are always putting you on a guilt trip, or always kind of making or creating issues or some sort, or creating some sort of problem, right? Some sort of harmful act where they're creating issues in your own mind. It's either you when you start praying for them, they start behaving differently, or you stop giving a shit. All right, that's the truth. And that's what needs to happen when it comes to your current situation, because like I mentioned, the world has changed, and now folks are moving in a direction where artificial intelligence is taking over, and it's gonna, I'm talking big money, big checks, big contracts are gonna go to people who offer real intelligence, human intelligence, because everybody could use artificial intelligence. So the folks like me who actually have real intelligence, and it's actually written, and it's actually in book in black and white, and can create things that had it before AI, though, that's where the big money's going to. So you need to get on this type of thinking. All right, so it's enough intro. I know I went on a little rant there. So let me just go over real quick what we discussed about. And I talked about a few of these points already in that intro, in that rant that I didn't really actually expect to go on, but it happens here and there when you're talking about the number one platform for innovative teamwork. It happens. All right. So Monday, Make Your Move Monday. What is a merit-based role? That's what we discussed. All right. I gave, first of all, I gave you guys a recap of how I did for the month. Gave myself a B. I started training clients again. I found a gym to do boxing training and stuff like that. I did get to chapter 8 of the new book, book number 6, How to Be a Wintrepreneur. Expect the pre-orders to start coming in as we get to possibly October, November time. Make a great Christmas gift for anybody as New Year's and stuff like that. So expect that. I haven't thought about what I'm going to do with the cover yet or all that, but for the most part, the core of it's really written, and the articles that you see on Medium, they're going to be in the book as well. So I'm going to kind of intertwine the book, the concept of the books, and the articles that you see here. So there's a way of actually physically having these articles so you can continue to write it and not write on it, but highlight certain points and hold on to it like the books. So the books I have been, this is something actually another point I want to make too. When it's a book that really relates, that you can really relate to, there's no getting, when you read it online, it's not the same as actually having it in person. And I'm going to tell you guys this from experience because I have it, actually just happen to have it. But when you get a good book that really relates to what it is you do, as you can see this book right here by Jim Weber, I talked about it, I think 2 weeks ago. I highlight. I make it so it's highlighted up and certain points, because you just never know when you're going to pick it up again and you're going to need some points. Highlighting is very, very important, especially when you have it. I hate the word feeling, I do, but there is a sense of when you're by yourself, or you find a nice quiet spot in which you can really get your thoughts and you can concentrate. See, the problem with the difference between reading a book, like a physical hard copy book, and a book or something written on the internet, is there's a oneness, there's a setting that you can set. I can go to the beach and see the sun go up or see the sun go down and have a cup of coffee or a nice coffee shop and see the ocean views and be concentrating on what's written here. That's the key to reading. The key to reading is about concentrating on the things that you enjoy. So I want to take these articles that you see me put out every day and put them in a format like this, so you can highlight it, you can have it, and you can say, okay, that was how that got done. That's how that got done. There's so much more to be grabbed from it, because there's just a lot of bullshit online that is so hard to actually find the stuff or deal with the stuff or get to the stuff that's actually has some damn substance. That's the truth about it. So that's what I'll be doing with the new book. And then actually today I'm starting the college football show. So today is I'm recording this July 31st. The Hall of Fame game in the NFL. It's happening tonight. I believe it is the Colts, the Titans. Let me see real quick. Can't remember who's playing tonight, but I will be at Duffy's setting up, talking about just getting people a little excited about letting them know I'll be doing the college football show live at that particular Duffy. So if you're in the West Palm Beach area, make sure. Yeah, Chargers and Lions tonight. Coach Harbaugh, baby. Coach Harbaugh, man, it's gonna be great. So yeah, I'll be at Duffy's. For the game, just setting up, telling people a little bit about the film session Saturday and stuff like that. So those were the goals for the past July, and now August goals kind of continue to maneuver in the same way. Grow that traffic with Palm Beach Boxing with the new position I have here as a sport and fitness director. The goals are going to be make sure there's a solid referral system where we're making it so the kids are coming from CCE boxing place, or there's some sort of a connection that I can create that's going to be productive. Align those articles like I just mentioned with the book, and then continue to build into, so really working those 3 angles, because they all lead to the things that I envision for this business. All right. So all that being said, what is a merit-based role? We talked about it. We made sure we broke it all down. I gave a story. I gave an example of how, back when I was a daycare counselor at KinderCare, they moved me. They stopped having me deal with the kids inside, and they more so made it so I created races and relays and, things that the older kids will work as teamwork. All of that stuff happened because of what I already am good at, and they decided, hey, let's just make the most out of it. It was her name, oh my god, the center director, Miss Christie, I think was her name, but she had the common knowledge or the common sense to say, hey, that should be something we're doing, so that way we're utilizing every single employee to the best of their abilities, and we're putting them in positions to succeed. That's the key to leadership. That's the key to managing. You got to be managing people. All right. So that's what we talked about on Monday. Now for Tuesday, Top 5 Tuesday. Let me just break down Top 5 Tuesday real quick for you guys. How to find your merit-based role. And again, this is very important. Regardless of where you are in life right now, that doesn't matter. That sense of comfort is a dangerous feeling. Nothing but negativity, nothing but bad result, really, really horrible results happen when you get too intertwined with the comfort zone, when you're so intertwined with tenure and you're so intertwined and so comfortable with the check and your salary and how you making your money. That's a bad place to just sort of rest on, to just be okay with. Okay, you got to move in a direction where you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, because those little things are going to lead to major results. So there's the top 5. There's a way of doing it. There's a process of doing it. Number 1, there has to be a sense of envy, a productive kind of sense of envy. I use the example of the fact that where I played before I got to Stony Brook, I played with when I say played, I mean really got close to as teammates, as friends, brothers, the guys. All 3 of them actually have been on this very podcast. The 3 players that I really did make sure I reached out to when I first started my show were Jelani Jenkins, the late Akeem Hebron, and Brandon Davis, who I played with my freshman year at Carson Newman. And all 3 of them ended up playing at SEC schools, like big dog powerhouses. Georgia with Akeem, Jelani went to Florida, and B Smooth Brandon went to South Carolina. This is the Mecca. This is powerhouse football. So that sophomore year when I couldn't play because I had a torn ACL, there was a sense of envy, like I got to get back. I got to get back. Straight up and down. I got to get back. So, there's a sense of envy, and it made me work harder. So number 1 is a productive sense of envy. Number 2, you got to know your actual ability. There was I knew I wasn't SEC football. At the end of the day, there was something in me that was burned and that was not going to let the game go. Number 3, there was your own agenda. Between those 2 things, you start to develop your own agenda. And with your own agenda, when you develop your own agenda, you're able to become more strategic, and you're asking others questions that are going to be mutually beneficial. Again, another great book to consume. Stephen Covey, I think it is. It's Create Win-Win Deals. Hold on, let me make sure. And by the way, Stephen Covey, win-win. Stephen Covey, think win-win. And any book I mentioned on the show, by the way, make sure you guys go out and get it, because it leads to a wealth of knowledge that just pours out. It pours out. Sometimes I don't even know what book I'm going to mention because I've read so many of them. And I don't say that to impress you, but to impress upon you. Putting the right information in your head becomes something that you just never know when it's going to be beneficial to you. All right. So creating your own agenda. There's a stubbornness. There was a lot of people telling me, be realistic. You tore your ACL, you redshirted at some D2 school. There's no way you're going D1. Be stubborn enough not to listen to that bullshit. And all of that leads to a level of confidence. All right. Real confidence, not cockiness, not you just talking shit when you're around your friends and you're able to be in your comfort zone. Confidence comes from you actually proving that you can do something that tons of people told you couldn't do, and you're just actually doing it. That's the difference between confidence and cockiness. All right. You want to develop in the confidence world, not the cockiness. The cockiness is bullshit that, hey, I'm with this one and I know this one, so I'm able to talk a lot. Confidence is completely different. You're out of your comfort zone and you're still performing. You're still doing your thing. All right. So see, I'm running low on time. I get riled up. I get riled up with certain things, bro. So that if you follow that agenda appropriately, you will start to develop confidence in your mentality would be all about, I want to continue to prove myself the same way Brian Cashman did, right? With the Yankees. And finally, yesterday we talked a little bit about the merit-based flips. And when I say flips, I'm talking specifically in the college football world. I use my beloved Michigan Wolverines. All right, I use them as an example because of how shitty our offense was a year ago. And all year I was like a little excited. I was bummed because we sucked, but there was a level of excitement because of this kid named Jaden Davis, who was all world coming out of North Carolina, Providence Day in North Carolina, and there was an expectation that he was going to be the guy that took our offense to another level. Apparently, there was some rumor that the Michigan coaches promised his parents that he'd redshirt, but we needed help right then and that point because our offense was just horrible. But Bryce Underwood, the number one recruit last year, who was committed to go to LSU, but was from Michigan, in the 11th hour, he decided to flip on LSU and come to Michigan. So there was mixed feelings as a fan. I'm happy that we were relevant and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I was thinking about, hey, what about Jaden Davis? What about that guy? And it didn't matter, right? It didn't matter. The person who was the best fit for the position, that's who ended up getting the commitment. So nothing safe, no positions guaranteed, nothing, no matter how all world you are. So all that being said, again, make sure you comment, like, subscribe to the channel, share it out. Tomorrow, it's film session Saturday. Speaking of the Michigan Wolverines, we're going to be finishing up the game in which we shocked the world, and we tapped up on some Ohio State ass. And then Sunday, as usual, Stay Hired Sunday. And then next week, we're going to be developing and talking all about role models and what a role model actually looks like outside of the fame and all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned. And if you are, again, business owners, if you are interested, if you do want to change it all and stop wasting so much money on turnover and your retention rates, you want your retention rates to increase and all that, you already know the main website to check out to dive deeper into all of that. It's makeyourmove.com. That's makeyoumove.com. One-stop shop for all your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.